Lovely little guy running across the toilet. Mirror's dirty. Paint and the wood's not very good. Big crack in the glass on the window. There's no lights on in this lift at all. The Riadh Inn, what can I say? An interesting place. It looks very nice from the outside, even though it's in an area that is very run down and not particularly wonderful to walk around. The actual location is very nice, with nice golden beaches, very soft sand, beautiful water. You couldn't really ask for much more. You have a fantastic pool area with lovely palm trees surrounding. It looks really great. Unfortunately, that's as far as the good things go. The rest of the hotel, unfortunately, it's really bad. I came here with great expectation and looking forward to a nice 7-day holiday, and I got this the very first night I was there. I went to the room and there was a cockroach. This was one of 2 cockroaches that were in the bathroom. The bathroom was not in a great condition at all. There was lime scale all around the bathtub. The tap was dirty. The mirror was completely dirty. It hadn't been cleaned in any way. There was paint chipping off the wood. You did get quite a lot of good storage area. This is my room here, and I walked all the way around from the elevator from reception. When we got there, unfortunately, we arrived around 10:30 at night, and the hotel made every individual fill out a paper form. The form was basically the information on your passport. So instead of taking a photocopy of the passport, you had to wait for one single pen to be passed around 10 people. It took a very long time to check in. We paid about £20 for the tourism tax. And then this was my room that I got on the first night. It looked okay. It was very dirty from a broken window on the patio floor. We had this wonderful little towel which was made to look like the palm. The picture you see was actually lopsided. The aircon wasn't aircon, it's actually a heater. Unsure why you'd want a heater in your room when you're in a hot country. The next day, after almost no sleep because the bed was just a nightmare to sleep in, there was marks all over the wall in the room. The room was very unclean. The area that you can see was falling apart. There's chips off all the wood. And this was the first room they thought would be acceptable. The table was worn and just horrible. There's a big mark on the wall from God knows what when somebody had stayed there. Don't know how that happened. The balcony had been painted as well, and there was paint chipping off the frame of the balcony door. It was not at all in a good state. With the broken glass, I could actually move the glass inside the frame. So that was really bad. The cleaners did come over and remove the bedding so it could be cleaned, and it gave me a chance to look at underneath the single sheet that had been on top. And those, I don't know what this was, I think it was a bit of a biscuit, but there was lots and lots of just dirty little flecks of things that had been there. That it wasn't fluff, it was physically hard little bits of grime that were all over the bed. It was really, really bad. We then also had the mattress underneath, and I'll be honest, after checking the actual physical mattress, they were a lot better than I expected, but it was concerning the amount of junk and filth on the actual topper for the mattress. But the mattresses were in fairly new, fairly good condition, which I was very surprised at. I found out that this hotel is around 50 years old, and with my first couple of days, I was kind of lenient to allow that to pass for the state of the rooms and the overall condition of the hotel. But as time went on, I became less and less. I don't know what that was on the sheet. It was not clean at all. I don't think they get cleaned in any way. So you've got multiple stays of people there with bits of whatever left over. Because it was light, it did give me finally a chance to actually see all these things, which I wish I hadn't, looking back, because it made my stays in the hotel room very unpleasant. I did change the hotel room. I waited till 11 o'clock the next day, and I went down to reception, and they allowed me to pick out another room from the 2 or 3 that they showed me. The pillowcases were not in a good state. They also had stains all over them. There was holes, there was tears in the actual fabric for the pillowcase. It really was not good at all. The pillow, when you put your head on it, all the mass of the pillow just moved out the way. As you see, there's a big tear there. There's all these little stains all over the pillow, and this was standard for what I could see. A lot of guests said that they changed room because their baths had been painted. I don't know what that was. I thought it was blood at first, but it wasn't. I think it was paint. Lots of guests changed the room because of a multitude of different problems, and it's just a shame to see what could have been. And as you can see, the picture's a bit wonky there. It's a shame to see what could have been a nice stay started off in such the most appalling way. It took over an hour to actually check in, just for 10 people. Every room we had a balcony, and the condition of the balcony was not good. The tables and chairs were old and well used, paint flaking off almost everywhere. You did get this wonderful view of the roof below, which looked terrible, but they did clean the entire roof while I was there. They had the cleaners on the roof sweeping up and washing it. You do have a nice view, and I will say that the location for the beach was absolutely amazing. The beach was one of the nicest things I have to say about the whole hotel. Unfortunately, during my stay, I was actually very, very ill and bedridden for 3 to 4 days. I don't know if it was a flu, I don't know if it was a virus, I don't know what it was that I caught while I was there, but for at least 4 days I was in my room, and I only able to get down to eat just for the necessity of having to survive. It was not a good stay at all. The lifts were barely working. When you wanted to get a lift, it would either stop for you or it would just completely pass you. Then if you went into one particular lift on the lobby on the left hand side, sometimes it wouldn't even go up or down. It was really, really bad. as you can see, the beach was absolutely stunning. There was quite a lot of litter on the beach, and that's such a huge shame. If it's people that are going there to go on holiday, dropping their litter, they should be ashamed of themselves. It's a gorgeous beach, and you should have more respect for the beach when you go to someone else's country to just leave your litter on there. But they did, further down on the beach, as I did a long walk one day, I did find that they basically had raw sewage just pouring out into the sea. So I don't know if it is actually down to the tourists putting the litter on the beach, or if it's actually down to the locals. I have nowhere to tell. There was just a huge water outlet with dark, stagnant, horrible water pouring straight into the ocean. It was vile. And it just goes to show that that's what the locals think about their own area. Outside of the hotel, the area is very deprived. It's very, very poor. There's not a lot of money in there. I was talking to one of the cleaners, and I'll be honest, one of the only saving graces of this hotel was the cleaner I had for 6 days. She was incredibly lovely, always happy, always polite, always had a bit of a conversation with me. She really was one of the highlights of the holiday, to have someone nice, whereas the rest of the staff throughout the entire hotel were rude or ignorant or just point blank ignored you if they could. It really wasn't a particularly good situation to be in. And I actually tipped the cleaner 60 dinars, which is about 2 days' wage. They work 6 days a week, and for 6 days a week they do 6 in the morning while about 4 in the afternoon. So they do nearly 10 hours a day, and they get paid 700 dinars a month. So that's 700 dinars a month. Take into account that for one double rum and coke, if you purchase it at the bar, it's 16,000 dinars. So one drink is more than double their wage in a month, which is incredible to see, and very, very sad for people who work there. The staff overall were appalling at this hotel. They really were unbelievably bad. The reception staff had no interest at all in anything if you had a problem. They just honestly didn't care and didn't want to know anything about any issue that you had. The food catering, or the staff in the restaurant, were the worst staff I've ever seen. I had multiple times I'd be walking with my plate of food getting the food to find a table, and the staff would come over and actually get a lady that was behind me or a group of people that behind me and show them to a table and completely ignore me, as if I wasn't even there. There was almost every meal actually, I'd sit down with my plate of food, and the food would either be completely stone cold because the food is not kept to a hygienic, healthy, hot temperature, and I would try and get the assistance of a waiter who would completely ignore me, and there'd be multiple waiters around where I was sat every single lunch, breakfast and dinner, and every single one would ignore me, to the point where one time I actually had to shout at the waiter to say excuse me to get him to finally come back after he ignored me. The overall state, as you're going to see from this video, of the hotel is very, very bad. It's not looked after. It's falling apart. Lots of sconces are broken or falling, or in a weird position because they're not being well looked after. There's glass missing from the window doors that look outside. It is really bad. That's a lift that's not even working. It never worked while I was there. It was completely shut down. This is one of them, a big crack, so you can see the wiring. The state of the hotel is poor. It's not good at all in any single way, and it's shocking to see how bad this hotel is. Even though the hotel may be bad, the food was worse and borderline dangerous to eat. this window had no glass. Whilst I was there, I saw that there was a big heater where they kept the food in. No thermostat showing the temperature inside the heater, so it could be any temperature. All the food was in big food serving trays, and they were just put on a hot plate. So the base of the food would be warm, but the rest of it would be lukewarm and cold, which is a perfect playground for bacteria to grow. So the food was really dangerous. The one area where they actually cook food, which had a big griddle on it, the gentleman was cooking diced turkey, and there's one side which had lots of diced turkey which was almost cooked, and he then used the same utensil to actually put more completely raw turkey bits onto the griddle to cook, along with all the juice. And he was literally cooking raw turkey with the juice, with the cooked food, and using the same utensil for both, which is a huge issue and a massive warning for salmonella poisoning. I was in absolute shock and horror when I saw this. I was actually very sick one day from eating at the hotel. This is the new room that I finally got on the first day that I was there, and it was a vast improvement over the first room. It was much cleaner. It still wasn't perfect. There was lots of marks all over the wall. There was lots of marks over the mirror. The edges of all the wood were chipped and wearing off. This fridge did work where the other fridge didn't. The only main issue I had in this room was the shower, and the shower wouldn't actually drain, but they did send somebody over within a few hours of me reporting it to get it working, and it did work from there on in. When I say work, the shower would be very, very hot, and then it would be very, very cold, and it would cycle through this every 4 or 5 seconds. So 5 seconds it'd be really hot, and then another 5 seconds it'd be cold, and then it would do this backwards and forth all the time I had a shower. They do have a hot heated pool at this hotel indoors, and it was one of the only saving graces to this hotel that there was a heated pool, because it was gorgeous. And it's such a shame because the view from the room is amazing. The location for this hotel, the view of the beach itself, the outdoor pool area was gorgeous. Unfortunately, the majority of the entire pool area outside was usually in shade. It was very rarely actually in direct sun, because the sun would be behind the hotel, which was very, very strange. With the hotel to the far right, there was another hotel built onto the side of this one, but the amount of people I saw on holiday that wanted to go home straight away was unreal. I met a couple of people that had legitimate food poisoning. One person had food poisoning 2 or 3 times. Another person had it once. This is outside the hotel, and if you just look at the actual buildings apart from the main hotel, you can see how much they're falling apart and how much of a poor state they are in. I heard nothing but complaints from countless people staying at this hotel, from massively to do with the food. The amount of people that changed rooms was unbelievable. So this is the main hotel that has been built on to the side of the hotel I was staying at, which is just strange in my mind, but explains why there's another big section of it on the other side when you're looking out. But yeah, people were very, very ill. The staff were rude as hell. The only saving grace from the whole holiday was the fact that we had such a lovely cleaner, and she really did make a big difference to the entire thing. It's a shame. It could have been an amazing holiday. I paid £350 for this. There are huge amounts of negative reviews, and I believe every single one of them, because they are all factual, and I can agree with that. Every single night until 12 o'clock the music will be blasting out. and then after that to about 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning, people will be screaming and shouting every single night. I would never stay here or go here ever again, and I strongly advise the same for yourselves. Go anywhere else. It is not worth the money at all. So with all that being said, we need to go over the actual score of this hotel. So I'm going to score this on 5 different aspects: the location, the room, the food, the service, and the value for money. So location, I'm actually going to take into consideration, I'm not going to consider anything outside of the hotel. I'm concentrating on the hotel of where it is, the beach and that sort of thing. So for location, I'm actually going to give this an 8 out of 10. It would have had a higher rating, but when you've got raw stagnant water from a river or stream or kind of a sewage just dumping straight into the ocean, I'm sorry, but I can't give it a 10 for that. So for that, it's the actual location is an 8. So for the room itself, admittedly the second room I got was a huge improvement over the first. Still a number of issues with it, with the shower which wouldn't drain, but that did get fixed. The toilets were horrible in the room because the way that they're designed, they don't really get rid of waste properly. The other aspect of the room is that you can still hear all the sound from outside, which is just frustratingly hard to sleep on a night at any time after 9 o'clock. Even though the cleaner was incredibly lovely and really nice, and the saving grace in regards to the holiday for staff and all that sort of thing, I'm not going to include her in this. I'm just going to go in the room itself, and considering what I went through on the first room, have to take that into consideration. I'm not taking into account what other people have said about their rooms, but for their room, I'm going to give this a 3 out of 10. For the food, from things like the raw turkey and all the juices from the raw turkey being cooked with normal turkey, the fact that the food was lukewarm at best and would make people ill, the fact that a lot of the food that I did try was actually quite vile and tasted horrible, isn't going to help in any way. One day I tried some burgers, and I actually only took one bite, and I managed to swallow it, but I left them because it was vile. Another time I tried some of the meatballs, and I actually physically had to spit the meatball back out because it was so bad. The fact that I saw so many people leaving large amounts of food on their plate. The cannelloni wasn't cooked properly, it was undercooked. The bolognese pasta was overcooked. The penne pasta was still raw. There was a huge multitude of problems with the food service, and borderline dangerous in the majority. For food, it's going to be a 0 out of 10. For the actual level of service, I'm not again going to include the one individual member of staff that was amazing. I have tipped her. I gave her a lot of money compared to what anybody else does. The staff that served on the drinks downstairs in the lobby were absolutely appalling unless you tipped them. They were almost blatantly rude to your face. The staff in the restaurant were the worst staff I've ever seen ever. Majority of my meals I never had a drink because they literally wouldn't serve me a drink and would serve other people around me. The amount of times where they would bring drinks to tables where there was no one sat down because they were getting their food and still ignore me was unreal. I couldn't believe it, and I was in shock almost every day. They would clear all the tables, they would get all the tables ready for everybody else and still ignore me, or tell me that they'll get me a drink and never bring it over. This was a daily, every meal event. They would, when the table had been finished with, they would clear the table. They wouldn't put a knife and fork back out or glass back out. So every time someone would then come in, you'd have to ask for a knife and fork while your food's getting cold. It was literally the worst level of service I have ever seen in any restaurant I have ever been to in my entire life. And if I could give a negative on the level of service, I would do, but I'm going to give it a 0 because the service was the worst I have ever seen. And that includes reception, that includes the staff downstairs on the bar, that includes all the staff in the restaurant. And also, to be warned, if you have a young daughter and you take her to this hotel, be careful. The males that work at this hotel are predators. The amount of times I saw the male workers trying to get into the pants of young girls 15, 16 or any other female was unreal. The indoor pool, when young girls came in who were about 15, 16, the 35-year-old lifeguard was flirting with all of them, and it was incredibly cringy. And it's scary how much these males were trying to get the women. And actually, I know for a fact that a lot of men at this hotel do sleep or make their way to being in a case where they can sleep with the female holiday makers. One female was actually attacked just outside the hotel by someone claiming to work at the hotel as a chef, and the police had to be called and everything. And this is a regular thing, so be warned. The service, the staff are horrific, and I would keep my daughter away from them if she's anywhere over 15 years old. So 0 for service. The value for money, I want to give it 0, I really do. I'll give it 1 because it was £350 and you got a decent flight there, and the flight back was okay, and that included hotel transfers as well. This hotel is full of male predators. Be warned. The hotel is dangerous and could cause you serious illness. Be warned. I don't say this lightly. It is a dangerous place to go, especially when it comes down to the food. There's going to be a full-length video of me daily diarying the entire experience of this thing on my Patreon. So if you want to know the full information daily of what's going on in this hotel, go to my Patreon, check it out. The full video will be on there. It is a long video of about 30 minutes or more because it goes into everything that happens. This hotel was horrific. The holiday was horrific. Do not go. I warn you, go anywhere else but here.